الحمد لله وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له. Praise be to God, and we bear witness that there is only one God. I want to start my khutbah this time with the beautiful quotation from the Bible, from Luke 12:29 to 31. It is, of course, a Quranic idea. The author is one and the same. And this is expressed beautifully in English. Starting at 29, it says, "It is not for you to be in search of what you are to eat or drink. Stop worrying. The unbelievers of this world are always running after these things. God knows that you need such things. Seek out instead His kingship over you, and the rest will follow in turn." So all you need to do is seek God's kingship over you, and everything else you need follows. The food, the provisions, the clothing, the health, everything else follows. So what does this mean? What does seeking God's kingship mean? It means that you give priority to God's commandments. You give priority to the 5 contact prayers. You wake up in the morning and you say, my duty today is to do the 5 contact prayers. The Friday prayer is a commandment from God. There's a commandment, Surah 60, verse 9, that you must go to the Friday prayer. You give this priority. You arrange your life and your job and your circumstances. So you will do the 5 daily prayers and the Friday prayer. And of course, you people here are the least people who need this. Some people out there are the ones who need this kind of reminder. You put on the list of your priorities the Quranic study. There's a Quranic study every Friday night going on here where you study the Word of God. And you have to work your circumstances. You cannot be somewhere in Tucson and there's a Quranic study going on in the mosque. Otherwise, you don't really care. You're not seeking God's kingship over you. To be sitting within, say, 50 miles, and there's a Quranic study going on. What does it mean to seek God's kingship over you and everything else follows? The provisions, the health, the happiness. You give priority to the activities of the believers. You remember the verse in Surah 18 that says, force yourself to be with those who worship God alone. Because it takes some effort and some work. It's not easy. But this is what is good for you, as you will see in the second khutbah, inshallah. It means that you make a point of giving out the zakat charity, as commanded by God. This is how you seek God's kingship over you. One day in the year, whatever, January 1st, December 31st, the first day of Ramadan, any day you set for yourself. One day in the year, you calculate exactly how much you are worth, and you give out 2.5% to people that you know personally. People who need your charity. And the Quran gives the exact order. Your parents first. If they don't need it, then your relatives, your cousins, your brothers, sisters. I mean your genetic brothers and sisters. And if all your relatives are rich, they don't need it, then you go to the orphans, children who have no support. One of the parents is missing somehow. And after that, the traveling stranger. Somebody stranded from Mexico or Nicaragua or whatever and passes by your house. Or you know personally people who immigrated from Thailand or Vietnam and they're living in a house in terrible conditions and you know them. Then they come next. So there is a specific sequence or order to give out this charity. You give priority to Hajj eventually. Not now. I would advise you to do it now. The Quran makes it conditional. Someday, all of us, inshallah, will go. We're going to charter a plane and we'll go, all of us. We'll make Hajj and we'll go in as there will be great victory because the land over there will be worshipping God alone. This is God's promise to us, and therefore I can talk about it in this way. So eventually, you have to observe Hajj. You seek God's kingship over you, and everything else follows by observing the prohibitions that God gave you. You don't drink, you don't gamble, you don't eat pork, you don't lie, you don't cheat, you don't violate your promises. You must be a person of your word. You must be an example of a person of God, a member in God's kingdom. Anything else in your life must take place number 2. You give priority to these activities, the commands of God, and this way you seek God's kingship over you, and this way you attain all other goals: money, health, wealth, happiness, etc., etc. Tubu ilallah, repent. Alhamdulillah, wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah. By studying the Quran continuously, we have discovered the secret of happiness. The secret of happiness is a developed, nourished, and grown soul, the real you, the real person, not this body. This is the secret of happiness. And we came to this conclusion by studying people who obtained everything. They got everything that the human beings go after: money, fame, good looks, sports cars, whatever. And I have used the example of Eddie Murphy, a movie star, when he was interviewed by Barbara Walters. He's got millions of dollars. He got palaces in California, exclusive places, and in New Jersey. 5 luxurious cars, all the girls, all the money, all the fame that he wants. And he told Barbara Walters he was not happy. So what is the secret of what? Aren't these the things that people are going after? Money and fame and wealth and whatever. And he's not happy. So the secret of happiness is that he must develop his soul. And the soul can be developed by worshipping God alone. Now this khutbah, I want to talk about God's name, Ar-Razzaq, the provider. The provider. God is the exclusive provider. He's the one who decides how much money you're going to make, or you made from birth to death. And I want to shed the whole new light on this word, the provider. Because God provides for the body and for the soul. Therefore, the contact prayers that you do 5 times a day are a provision from God. The duties that I talked about in the first khutbah, they're actually a gift from God. And we see this, there's a lot of evidence in the Quran for this. For example, in Surah 7 verse 43, we see that the people in heaven pray and say, Alhamdulillah, praise be to God who guided us to this. We could never be guided without God's blessing and guiding us. In other words, it was not their doing. It is God's blessing and God's gift to them that guided them. In Surah 10 verse 9, we see a very clear principle saying that God guides the people because of their faith or their belief. In other words, when you decide to worship God alone, then God provides for your soul. And God provides the 5 contact prayers for your soul. And the fasting of the month of Ramadan for your soul. I mean, you think that you're going to do the 5 prayers, but really it's a gift from God. You cannot do it without God's guidance. Surah 10 verse 9, excuse me. In Surah 49 verse 17, another clear evidence for this. The verse says, they act as if they are doing you a favor by embracing Islam or by practicing Islam. Instead, God is the one who blessed them by guiding them to Islam. So when we worship God alone, when we do the 5 daily prayers, when we fast the month of Ramadan, when we join the Quranic study and even the picnics of the Muslim group, we are not doing God a favor. It is God's provisions to our souls. In Surah 14, verse 40, we see Abraham praying. And what is he saying? He says, please God, make me an observer of the contact prayers. Because it's a gift from God. And also my children, he said. He said, please God, make me an observer of the contact prayers. رَبِّ اجْعَلْنِي مُقِيمَ الصَّلَاةِ. In Arabic. He didn't say, please God, give me $1 million. So, observing the 5 contact prayers is a privilege and a gift and a blessing. It is not a hardship. It is not work. You get up for the morning prayer before sunrise, not because you want to do this or because you're doing such a great effort, for God's sake. It's because God blessed you and enabled you to get up before sunrise to feed your soul this very important meal, the morning prayer. Abraham said, رَبِّ اجْعَلْنِي مُقِيمَ الصَّلَاةِ. My Lord, make me one who observes the contact prayers, and also my children. People in Satan's kingdom are provided with sins. We see this in Surah 24, verse 21. When Satan collects people in his kingdom, he pushes them to go to the bar and lie and cheat and drink and do not feed your soul. This is what sins are. Not feeding the soul, depriving the soul, poverty of the soul. On the other hand, in Surah 7, verse 28, we see the principle that God does not advocate vice. So it's the exact opposite of what Satan does. And this is why I want to remind you again that God never ordered Abraham to slaughter his son, because this is a terrible vice, of course. And this is why we never find it in the Quran that Abraham ordered Abraham to sacrifice his son. That wouldn't make sense, and it does not. This law that God does not advocate sins would be violated. People in Satan's kingdom, because of their idol worship, they may observe the 5 contact prayers, but they do not make contact. They dial the wrong number. They dial Satan's number because they mention other names with God. And this is a trick of Satan. And this is why we find in the Quran such statements as, woe to those who observe the Salat prayers. Wailun lil Musallin. Because now they are really doing an effort. But it's all in vain. As we see in Surah 39, it is all in vain. Once there is a name mentioned with God in the prayer, it violates the commandment in Surah 72, verse 18. Once another name is mentioned, the whole effort is in vain. And we are blessed here. See, we're going to stand up, we're going to pray to God, we're going to establish contact with God, and there will be no name. From the moment we say Allahu Akbar to open the prayer to the end, there will be no name but the name of God. And you can see the difference. أقم الصلاة. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم. السلام عليكم. This is why it is appropriate to say congratulations at the end of the prayer, because you just received a gift from God, the equivalent of $100 million in your account. Congratulations.